Okay, hi, I'm Mr. Moreno. This is for Part 7, Earth's Atmosphere, Chapter 1.1, Part 1 of 2. So it's a two-part episode. Okay, so this is the first one, and first I'd like to say that a lot of these words you've seen before, like atmosphere, altitude, density. But until now, you probably didn't know their scientific meaning, so that's what we're doing today. Atmosphere is a synonym for air. And what does air mean? It doesn't just mean oxygen. Some people say or make the mistake that it means oxygen. It does not. It means 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen. That is the air of, or the atmosphere of our planet Earth. And 1% other stuff like carbon dioxide. All of this together is air or atmosphere. Altitude. Some people say, oh, my altitude is my height. Altitude does not just mean height. It cannot be just any height. Altitude is specifically the height between the ocean of the Earth, sea level, we call that sea level, and wherever you are. So that is the altitude. If it is a mountain, the altitude of the mountain is measured by how far the height is from sea level or from the ocean. Density is another difficult one. Density is how much mass you have per volume. And maybe that's difficult to understand, so here I drew a little picture. So imagine there's this box, right? And this box 1, is filled with air. Box 2 is the same size box, is filled with water. This box is less dense because it has less stuff. Air is less heavy than water. That's how you know there's less stuff in there. There's less mass. Now, mass is not the same thing as weight, but they're related, so we'll talk about that later. But just for now, you should know that if it weighs less than another thing in the same size, it is less dense. This one is more dense because water is heavier than air, and weight is related to mass. So, how is this related to the atmosphere? Well, imagine this is the surface of the Earth. The higher you go up, the air gets thinner. It gets less dense. Why? Because gravity is pushing air down towards the Earth. But air is a gas, so it wants to float up, right? So here, near the surface of the Earth, it is very dense. There's a lot of air. But the higher you go up, it starts becoming less and less air. Less and less air until eventually there's no air. Where there's no air, we call that space. That is what space is. It's the limit where there is no more air. And this limit is usually about 50 kilometers. You don't need to know that. What you do need to know is that the higher you get from the ocean surface, the less dense or less air there is per area. So it becomes a lot harder for you to breathe. That's why it's important.